bringing artificial intelligence to travel. I'm Tanya Hall for ZDNet, and joining me is Surabhi Gupta. She is the Director of Engineering at AirBnB Home. Welcome, Surabhi.
Hi, Tanya. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking the time out to talk about your role and what you do at Airbnb. So what do you do as the Director of Engineering for Airbnb Homes?
Yeah, so I lead a team of about 300 engineers, and we are responsible for our entire business is really responsible for making sure that we can get the right homes onto our platform, that we have guests that really can find the place that's right for them. And there's a lot to just keep this entire ecosystem going, right? How do we help hosts be successful? How do we give them the right pricing tools? How do we give them the tools that they need? Guests have a lot of preferences, right? There are guests that, or I might take 5 different trips, and each of my trips might have very different characteristics, right? So we want to try to do the best job we can at attracting new guests, helping them find the place that's right for them, connecting them with hosts, bringing hosts. So it's pretty exciting. There's a lot to do here.
There is. It's a fast-growing industry as technology is changing everything. You guys actually just had a really big launch in February. Talk about how you've changed your business.
Okay, so I'm very excited because that launch was really sort of our big step towards how we've really evolved, right? So we started 10 years ago as a company, and it started out with one shared room that our founders, that Brian and Joe, put up. And fast forward 10 years, our platform has really evolved. And so we, the big thing that we announced was that we have an offering that is for everyone, right? And we have a way of, we believe that we have a way to attract many different types of guests and hosts. So an example is, I have, almost a 2-year-old, and our needs when we travel now are different from if it was just me alone, or me traveling with friends, or me with my husband. And now I can just go and look for the family collection and find a set of homes that have exactly the amenities that I'm looking for. So that was that's just one aspect of the launch. There's a lot more, but you can see how we sort of are formalizing our offering for different segments of hosts and guests.
So what role then does AI and machine learning and maybe either other advanced technology play in this type of transformation?
Okay, so I consider AI and machine learning really as enabling a lot of the success that we want to see for our business, right? So an example, or if we talk about what I would be looking for in my trip, I just told you that I'm traveling with my almost 2-year-old and my husband, but we have so many other things that we care about. And part of how we figure that out is by actually trying to learn more and more about listings, right? And that means that, you see these photos. How can you easily tell from photos that this is exactly how the house is organized, right? The more realistic we can make it, for a guest to experience where they're going, the better it's going to be. And I think technology is going to help us understand a lot more about photos, about the information that hosts are giving us, and really enable better connections between hosts and guests. And machine learning AI is what's going to enable all this.
You mentioned that you guys have been around for about a decade, and certainly you have grown, I think, exponentially even in the last couple of years and with this new announcement. So I guess my question is, what are the biggest challenges that you've had, maybe the growing pains that you've had, and how did you overcome them?
What I found actually is that every stage of growth feels like a very different company. So you almost have to constantly keep looking at where you are, what problems you're seeing. It can be in your organizational structure. It can be in how you recruit and bring in people. It can be in how you onboard them, how you set up your projects. I've really found that as you grow, every one of these pieces, you have to keep testing your assumptions, and you have to keep evolving, right? You can't just assume that, hey, okay, I've gone through this whole process of figuring out how I'm going to organize teams, and then a year later, likely that structure is not going to work if you've doubled. So what I found is that I think if you just go in with that mentality of, all right, it's going to change, and I'm going to be part of that change, then it's easier to kind of go through that.
Do you look for that quality in the engineering team that you're hiring? I mean, do you look for people that are adaptable to change? Because it's not necessarily an engineering trade, is it?
I would say actually one of the great things of being an engineer is that you have to constantly keep learning, right? Technologies keep changing, frameworks keep evolving. And so, what I think actually engineers are pretty well suited to being okay with change in terms of, just, okay, something's changing. I have to learn about this. Now, I do think people like to have some sort of organizational stability, but I think one of our big selling points also has been that we are a smaller company. There's so much opportunity ahead of us, and people are excited about that.
So, give me some examples of how maybe that you've used artificial intelligence across Airbnb platforms and products.
Yeah, so we've actually used artificial intelligence, across um, many different parts of our experience to really reduce the friction. Right, inherently, we have a lot of listings. We have this decision-making process that I would say is quite complex, right? Because you're spending a lot of money, you're taking time off, you're traveling potentially with other people that you don't want to let down, and so you want to find that perfect place. And so in the process of finding this place, we've used a lot of machine learning in improving search, in preventing fraud. I mentioned pricing earlier, helping hosts actually set prices and giving them more information about the market. These are sort of three examples that immediately come to mind. Another one that I think is really interesting is, when you think of search, a lot of times you think of getting people to click on a certain result or make that booking. But something that we've found is that people have these real experiences, right? They go and experience a listing, they go and stay with a host, and they rate their trip. And so we want to actually try and predict how good that trip is going to be. And we've actually incorporated that into our search ranking model now, which is, it's not just about getting the booking, but it's actually making sure that when you go on your trip, it's going to be a good experience.
Is there a primary language for writing code that you guys use, or do you have any preferences?
So at Airbnb, we use Java and Ruby. But we, for a lot of our machine learning modeling, we, there's different, like we have a bunch of machine learning tools that we've built internally. Sometimes we've used Spark, Python. There are other tools that we've used, tools and
And
languages.
how will machine learning and artificial intelligence impact the industry? Like, what are your predictions over the next few years, and how that's going to grow?
For travel specifically?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I think of what the big change has been of using, or what machine learning has enabled, is really, or actually, I would say that the change I've seen in travel over the last few years has been that we have a platform now where there's more trust, right? Technology has enabled us to trust other people, right? Because there are hosts and there are listings that are now accessible, and a guest like you or me can now try to can look at all of this information and can decide that, yes, I want to go here. And so I think that there's a lot of these matches that are possible because of technology. And I think that the next change I think we're going to see actually is in making all of these experiences a lot easier, a lot more immersive, right? So if I want to go and find a place, I want to go and fully immerse myself into that listing, into that experience I'm going to have, right? And maybe that's a change that we're just seeing. Like, we have access to all this information, and we do expect information immediately and early, right? So I think that we're headed in that direction of just more information. But I think for travel, what that means is completely immerse myself into where I'm going, and make more informed decisions, right? Like I might actually want to experience what it is like going to Yellowstone National Park or Tahoe or Patagonia or New Zealand, or I might pick all these places, and then there might be one that I immerse myself in for a few minutes. I'm like, great, I want to go here, right? And so I think that's a way of that is not really possible today.
Will VR, virtual reality, augmented reality, the realities, mixed realities, play a part in the Airbnb experience?
I think that that's definitely a way to have more immersive experiences. We've had someone that has, experimented with it a little bit. But yeah, I'm excited to see how this can fit into Airbnb.
Well, I'm excited too. Hopefully that will. I want to take a virtual tour of all of the Airbnbs that you have, especially those preferred homes. I really appreciate your time, Surabhi, and excited to see where you guys are going to be going in the future. Thanks for sharing your announcements. If somebody wants to connect with you, find out more how to be a successful engineer in the tech space, how can they do that?
I think Twitter is a good way. You can follow me there. It's my alias is SURBS. Or
All
just
right.
search for my name and you can find it.
Sounds good. Thanks again for your time. And if you want to follow me and more of my interviews, you can do that right here on ZDNet or Tech Republic. Find me on Twitter. I like Twitter too. I'm at Tanya Hall Radio on Twitter, or find me on Facebook by searching for The Tanya Hall Show. Until next time.